Hello, comrades, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. Здравствуйте, дорогие товарищи. В эфире программа Ushanka Show. Today we're gonna look again at the classified document of the KGB of Ukraine dated back in July 1976. This document was discovered by the Ukrainian historian Eduard Andriushenko. Please check his YouTube channel called KGB Files. But before we begin, I would like you to pause this video and post a comment how old you were back in 1976. I was 5. I already made several videos about this document, and today we finally got to the page number 6. On page 6 there's a chapter called «О пребывании американской молодежной делегации, Крымская область», concerning American youth delegation visit in Crimean region. 8-14 июля 1976 года по приглашению... Oops, you guys don't understand any Russian. Okay. On July 8 to 14 of 1976, YMCA delegation consisting of 4 people visited Crimea. They were invited by the Youth Organizations Committee of the USSR. I'm always trying to say committee instead of committee. So that's already interesting. We have YMCA from the USA visiting USSR. I'm a horrible singer. During their visit of collective farm named after Nadezhda Krupskaya in the village of Mikhailovka. Okay, so now we have to stop here. So kolkhoz, collective farm in Crimea region, was named after Nadezhda Krupskaya, who was wife of Vladimir Lenin, who had nothing to do with agriculture. But we had this instant tradition of naming factories, collective farms, you name it, after some famous Soviet people. Number one, of course, was Vladimir Lenin, so there'll be factory имени Vladimira Lenina. Collective farms, probably thousands of those were named after Lenin. And in this case, we had a collective farm named after Nadezhda Krupskaya, the wife of Vladimir Lenin. And of course, before 1953, there were a lot of places named after our great leader, Joseph Stalin. Like, for example, factory in Moscow was called ZIS, Zavod имени Stalina. It was manufacturing trucks. Then it became ZIL, Zavod имени Likhacheva. But let's talk about Nadezhda Krupskaya really quick. She was born in 1869. Then she met and married Vladimir Lenin. Well, she met Vladimir Ulyanov. That was his real last name. And Lenin, of course, is his nickname, party nickname. But what I found really interesting is she never took his last name. So she never became Nadezhda Ulyanova or Nadezhda Lenina. She remained Nadezhda Krupskaya. So of course, even after the death of Lenin back in 1924, Nadezhda Krupskaya was quite a heavyweight in the party circles in Moscow. And actually, back in 1925, she supported so-called new opposition, Zinoviev and Kamenev's struggle against Stalin. And obviously, someone named Comrade Stalin wasn't happy about that. And surprisingly, shortly after, Nadezhda Krupskaya announced that she was planning to emigrate to the United Kingdom, which I found extremely interesting. And for some reason, she wasn't able to emigrate, and soon after, she actually went against Zinoviev and Kamenev, and she voted to exclude them from the Communist Party, as well as exclude from the party Leon Trotsky. Joseph Stalin was never a big fan of Nadezhda Krupskaya, even when Lenin was alive, and apparently one time he was so rude to Krupskaya that she was in tears and she complained to her husband, and Vladimir Lenin wrote really nasty letter to Stalin demanding an apology. Stalin caved in and apologized. And I must tell you, if a Georgian has to apologize to a woman, this is like a really big insult to his manly pride. So Comrade Stalin was, I kind of think of it as English impression, like he had rocks in his pockets that he kept for Krupskaya. Now we need to jump in our story into 1939. So Nadezhda Krupskaya had a birthday party. She was celebrating turning 70, and guess what? Comrade Stalin sent her a birthday cake. Later that night, she began feeling under weather. She got really sick the next day. They called the ambulance. It took ambulance to get to Krupskaya 3.5 hours, and they said that it took about 9 hours for her to finally to be examined by a doctor in a hospital, but that time was too late, and she died so pretty much the next day after her birthday. So her birthday was on February 26, which was Sunday. Krupskaya died next day, which was Monday. She was cremated on the Wednesday and buried on Thursday. So no medical examination, no display in some public place, because she was a big deal in the Soviet Union, the widow of the Lenin, the first leader of the Soviet Union. Everything was done super quick, so I personally find it extremely suspicious. So besides that collective farm in Crimea region that carries name of Nadezhda Krupskaya, currently it's not a collective farm, now it's an agrofirma, so it's an agricultural company. There's also a collective farm in Saratov region that also had name of Krupskaya, and a Sovkhoz, Soviet collective farm in Ulyanovsk region. There was also a candy factory in Leningrad, and actually it's still in business. That factory now is called St. Petersburg, that carries name Krupskaya candy factory. There is also a chicken processing plant in the capital of Belarus, Minsk, that carries the name Krupskaya. That's kind of odd choice to name a chicken processing plant after the wife of Comrade Lenin. And there was also a beautiful passenger boat or ship, which was actually built in Germany, that has name Nadezhda Krupskaya. I apologize for this long detour, and let's go back to our KGB document about YMCA visit to the collective farm in Crimea. So this collective farm imeni Nadezhdy Krupskaya was located in Mikhailovka village, which also had a quite an interesting history. Back in 1800s, this village was called Karamek, and that's where the Crimean Tatars lived. Then they abandoned that place sometimes around 1860, right after the Crimean War. I don't know if anybody knows the history. There was a war between Russia and I believe it was England and France together. There was a Crimean War. Russia on one side and England and France were on another side, if I remember correctly. So after that war, a large swath of Tatars from Crimea immigrated to Turkey, so that village, Karamek, became abandoned. Shortly after, the German settlers moved in and renamed the village into Klinenthal. By 1939, there were around 750 German villagers there, but on August 18, 1941, so that's pretty much about 2 months after the Great Patriotic War with Nazi Germany began, all the Germans were put on the trains and shipped to Siberia or northern Kazakhstan, so that village was emptied completely. After the war was over in 1945, this village was renamed once again, this time to Mikhailovka, and they had a new settlers arriving from Zhytomyr region, Ukraine. And Zhytomyr region, that's where my father is from. And once again, back to our KGB report. So during the visit, the foreigners were asking local kolkhozniks, collective farm workers, about their salaries and the reasons why youth is leaving kolkhoz for the cities. I found this part extremely interesting because, okay, I'm not an American, but I believe that in the United States, it's not polite to ask people how much money are they making. It's just not that kind of culture like that. Back in the Soviet Union, it was totally normal to ask what's your salary because, well, pretty much everyone was making pretty close the same, around 150 to 200 rubles a month. But to see here a report that Americans were asking locals how much money they make, that's really interesting. I was surprised to see that Americans would be asking questions like that. During the visit to the local kindergarten, one of the American ladies, her name was Maury B. So Maury, I guess that's the last name, offered kids to play an American national game. So I already found it hilarious. I never knew there's an American national game. Okay, I want to remind you guys, this is a KGB classified report. It's not just like a newspaper article. So this lady told the kids they need to take their shoes off and pile it in the middle. Now, I had a chuckle here too because I recognized, I have a guy I work with, he's a former Marine, He told me that during his boot camp, they had this, wasn't a game among the Marines, the recruits, called Mount Sarabachi, and that's all the Marines, they will pile up their shoes in the middle of the barrack, and then at the whistle they're supposed to run as quick as possible, find their shoes or grab any shoes, put it on, and then they go for like 10-mile run. So that was called Mount Sarabachi. So that sounds like that. You make everyone pile the shoes in one spot, and then you make them run, and you need to, the loser won't have shoes on, everyone else should be having shoes on, so people grab any shoes they can get hold of to put them on. So when she told the kids, go ahead, grab the shoes, there was a real chaos, and Americans were taking pictures and laughing. So the manager of that kindergarten, as well as a local representative of Crimean Komsomol organization, told YMCA group leader Mr. Tweston that such behavior wasn't acceptable. And that would be amazing to find those 4 YMCA folk that went back in 1976 to Crimea and get their personal accounts, personal recollection of those events, because that sounds like they had a lot of fun. And this interesting chapter ends with really dry words that KGB report was filed to Moscow for the Council of the Ministers of the Soviet Union. So that went to the highest level of Soviet government, this silly YMCA youth visit to Crimea. Well, my friends, it's all I have for you today. I hope you learned something new, maybe had a little chuckle like I did. As always, don't forget to like this video, please, share with your friends, and we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. Hey, by the way, cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. Just a friendly reminder that my book American Diaries is available on Amazon.com, or shoot me an email if you would like to have a signed copy. Thank you. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet